Hey guys, this is your Thursday lesson for March the 7th. We're going to jump right in because we have a lot to do today, including a Zoom at 11. So if you're watching this before 11 a.m., know that you have a Zoom coming up. You should all have an invitation in your email. Okay? I'm going to jump into 1819 and review them, and then we're going to go ahead and read chapter 20, and then I will read aloud the questions for chapter 20. There's only 7 of them. And 20 is not a very long chapter. And then tomorrow, my hair looks crazy. Tomorrow we will do 21, and that's the last day of instruction for you guys. But stay tuned. We will still have a Zoom next week just to kind of talk and catch up with everybody. Seniors, and really every grade level, you need to pay attention to your email. They are sending out important information about things you need to pick up from the school on different days. So I think seniors is the 15th, I want to say, but we'll have to confirm that. It's when you'll pick up stuff that the school was going to distribute to you or needed to distribute to you. This week with Senior Week, you should have gotten emails that talked about special activities to do during the day. So I think Friday, and I'll double check and I'll confirm with you guys in Zoom tomorrow, or Zoom in just a little bit, that there's like a Chick-fil-A drive up and stuff like that. So I hope you guys have had fun with some of those activities, Samima and Noah. But as far as the other dates go, please know that I do not make the decisions with graduation. I do not know about cap and gown. I don't know about how the ceremony is going to take place. They've kind of started discussing it, but we have to do what's safe for everybody. So just hang in there, and we will figure it all out together. So just be thankful for Dr. Downs and other people in leadership for Beaufort City, that they are making these tough decisions and that it is us. We just need to follow the rules. So here we go. Chapter 18. It looks like this, and it will be scanned for you to check and compare yours. This is from the 6th. Chapter 18. Jean is going to bring B flower seeds for Kira. 1 is B. 2. Jean hopes Kira will be like a big sister for her. So 2 is D. 1 second. Katie and Amy are acting crazy. Thought I was going to have to go get on to him. Question 3. Leader doesn't want the wall builders to know he's gone, because if the wall builders realize that Leader is gone, then they're going to throw that wall up without his permission, and he won't be able to stop them. So 3 is C. 4, this time when Seer touched the tapestry, you know, the tapestry that tells the story that Kira made, he feels A, knots and tangles. 4 is A. It doesn't feel smooth and pretty anymore. It feels rough. Question 5. Seer was able to feel and smell death when he was close to the tapestry. So 5 is D. So we are not having good feelings about this forest travel trip. The word I was looking for is trip. This trip through forest now, because things have gotten pretty intense. Excuse me for 1 second. Katie and Amy? Oh, they were just wrestling each other in the other room. I'm so sorry for these interruptions, but these digital learning days from home with 2- and 4-year-old, you guys know, can be tough. Okay, so now we're going to go over the chapter 19 quiz. Question 1. When they woke up, is what it should say. When they woke up, Kira's vision was blurred and Maddie's voice was hoarse. So the answer to 1 for chapter 19 is A. Remember, Kira's having vision problems and Maddie can hardly speak. So they're pretty sick. Question 2. Kira is unable to walk to continue the journey. So 2 is B. She cannot walk any further. Her feet and legs have been torn up by the forest. Question 3. Kira tells Maddie all she wants to do is sleep. C. 3 is C. She's like, just leave me. I'm just going to fall asleep. And she thinks that this is the end. But I'm optimistic. Question 4. Maddie suggests that Kira tried to meet Leader halfway. B. Question 4 is B. Question 5. Leader didn't feel Forrest attack until C, the second day. So the first day he was like, okay, I'm in, I got this. And then the second day is when it started kind of intentionally attacking Leader. Question 6. Leader is able to follow D, a frog, to get back to the path. So I'm thinking that this might be the same path that Maddie had healed. So Leader follows the frog to get back on track. Question 7. When Leader got discouraged, he B, looked beyond because it was the only thing he could do. So 7 is B. And remember, the reason he decided to look beyond is because he was just laying there, he was being tangled up by these vines, and he's thinking that this is it for him too, you know? So we've got Kira and Maddie and Leader all in this forest, and they don't think that they can make it. But we're about to find out a little bit more in chapter 20. So turn with me to page, we're almost done, can't believe it. 20 is super short, so maybe we'll have to jump into 21. But here we go. What are you seeing? Maddie asked her in a hoarse voice, but she didn't reply at first. Her eyes were closed, her fingers moved as if in a dream. The needle went in and out, in and out. So remember, she's sewing, sewing, sewing because that allows her to see the future. He lifted his head to try and see, but his eyes were swollen, and when he raised himself, blood still flowed from his nose. So he laid back down, groaning from the effort, and in doing so felt the limp body of the puppy shift inside his shirt. Maddie had never experienced such an enormous sadness. His other dog had died in old age, peaceful and ready, but Frolic was only a puppy, new to life, and had been such a spirited creature, so curious and playful. Seemed impossible that he would become a lifeless thing in such a short time. But it was true of everything, he thought. His sadness was for all of it. The village, no longer the happy place it had been. For Kira, no longer the sturdy, eager young woman he had always known. And Leader? He wondered what was happening to Leader now. Suddenly, Kira seemed to come awake. She whispered, "He's coming. He's close." Her voice was right beside him, very near to Maddie's ear as he lay curled next to her. But it sounded, at the same time, far away, as if she were moving someplace distant. The vine around his ankle tugged at him, bit into his flesh, anchored itself there, and sent a new shoot upward. Another snaked itself out of the bushes and curled around his foot. Leader didn't notice, so we're talking about Leader now. He stood immobile, alert. His eyes were open, but he was no longer seeing the vermin-ridden trees around him, their blighted leaves, or the foul, dark mud under his feet. He was looking beyond, and he was seeing something beautiful. "Kira," he said, though it was in his mind that he spoke, for his human voice was inaudible now, and his mouth was painfully swollen up with open sores. "We need you," she replied, and it was her mind speaking, too. Maddie, beside her, heard nothing but the soft flutter of her fingers moving through the fabric. In the place called beyond, Leader's consciousness met Kira's, and they curled around each other like wisps of smoke in greeting. "We are wounded," she told him, "and lost. I am hurt too, and captured here," he replied. With the exchange, they drifted dangerously apart. Where he stood, Leader could feel the vine now. His knees buckled at the sharp-toothed stem. As the sharp-toothed stem bit, he tried to reach for it, but his hands were entangled too. With great effort, his consciousness touched hers again. Ask the boy for help, he told her. Do you mean Maddie? Yes, though that's not his true name. Tell him we need his gift now. Our world does. Maddie felt Kira stir beside him. She opened her eyes. He watched as her tongue moved to moisten her blistered lips. When she spoke, her voice was so weak that he could not make out the words. With difficulty, he leaned painfully toward her so that his ear was near her mouth. We need your gift, she whispered. Maddie fell back in despair. He had followed Leader's instructions. He had not spent his gift. He had not made Raymond well. He had not fixed Kira's crooked leg, or even tried to save his little dog. But it was too late now. His body was so damaged he could barely move. He could no longer bend his ravaged arms. How could he place his hands on anything? And what, in any case, did she want him to touch? So much was ruined. In agony and hopelessness, he turned away from her and rolled off the blanket and into the thick, foul-smelling mud. With his arms outstretched, his hands touching the earth, he laid there waiting to die. But he felt his fingers begin to vibrate. Let me see how long chapter 21 is. Let's do it. Chapter 21. It began with the tiniest sensation. It was different from the larger feelings that still racked his body, the searing agony in his arms and hands, the almost unendurable ulceration of his parched mouth, the feverish pounding in his head. This was a whisper hint of power. He felt it in the tips of his fingers, in the whorls and crevices of his outer skin. It moved across his hands as they lay motionless in the mud. Though he shivered from illness and anguish, he could sense his blood beginning to warm and flow. He lay still. Inside him, the thick, dark liquid slid sinuously through his veins. It entered his heart and throbbed there, moving with purpose through the labyrinth of muscle, collecting energy that came faintly to it from his collapsing lungs. He could feel it surge into his arteries. Within the blood itself, he could perceive its separate cells and see their colors in its consciousness, and in the prisms of their molecules, and all of it was awake now, gathering power. Go Maddie. He could feel his own nerves, each one, millions of them, taut with energy waiting to be released. The fibers of his muscles tightened. Gasping, Maddie called for his gift to come. There was no sense of how to direct it. He simply clawed at the earth, feeling the power in his hands enter, pulsating into the ruined world. He became aware suddenly that he had been chosen for this. Near him, Kira began to breathe more easily. What had been close to coma turned now to sleep. Not far away, Leader tentatively lifted one foot and found it free of the entangling vine, and his eyes opened. Back in village, a breeze came up. It came through the windows of the home place where Raymond lived with his family. Raymond sat up suddenly in bed, where he laid ill for days, and felt the fever begin to seep from him. The blind man sensed the breeze entering the open windows and lifting an edge of the tapestry off the wall. He felt the fabric and found the stitches as even and smooth as they had been in the past. Maddie groaned and pressed his hands harder into the ground. All of his strength and blood and breath was entering the earth now. His brain and spirit became part of the earth. He rose. He floated above, weightless, watching as humans self-labor and writhe. He gave himself to it willingly, traded himself for all that he loved and valued, and felt free. Leader walked forward. He wiped his face with his hands and felt the lesions fade. So he felt his face, and he's noticing that it's smooth again. His sores are gone. He could see the path clearly now, for the bushes had drawn back, their leaves bright with new green growth and dappled with buds. A yellow butterfly lit on a bush, paused, and darted off. Rounded stones bordered the path, and sunlight filtered down through the canopy of trees. The air was fresh, and he could hear a stream flowing nearby. Maddie could see and hear everything. He saw Jean beside her garden call out in happy greeting to her father. And he saw Mentor, stooped once more, and balding, waved to her from the path where he was walking toward the schoolhouse with a book in his hand. So everybody's changing back. Remember, Mentor had made these trades to have a more handsome appearance, but now he's getting a bald spot, and he's smiling, and he's walking back to school to teach the children. His face was stained again with the birthmark, and poetry had returned to him, and Maddie heard him recite, "Today the road all runners come, shoulder high we bring you home, and set you at your threshold down, townsmen of a stiller town." He saw the wall builders walk away from their work. He heard the new ones singing in their own language, 100 different tongues, but they understood one another. He saw the sacred woman standing proudly in their midst beside her son, and the people of village gathered to listen. He saw Forrest and understood that what Seer had meant. It was an illusion. It was a tangled knot of fears and deceits and dark struggles for power that had disguised itself and almost destroyed everything. Now it was unfolding like a flower coming into bloom, radiant with possibility. Drifting there, he looked down and saw his own self becoming motionless. He felt his breathing slow. He sighed, let go, and felt a sense of peace. He watched Kira wake, and he saw Leader find her there. Kira took a cloth to the stream and brought it back, moistened to wash Maddie's still face. Leader had turned him over. She sobbed at the sight of him, but was glad that his terrible wounds were gone. She bathed his arms and hands. The skin was firm and unblemished without scars. "I knew him when he was a little boy," she said, weeping. "He always had a dirty face and a mischievous spirit." She smoothed his hair. He called himself the fiercest of the fierce. Leader smiled. He was that, but it was not his true name. Kira wiped her eyes. He so hoped to receive his true name at the end of this journey. He would have. He wanted to be messenger, Kira confided. Leader shook his head. "No, there have been other messengers, and there will be more to come." He leaned down and placed his hand solemnly on Maddie's forehead above his closed eyes. "Your true name is Healer," he said. A sudden rustling in the bushes startled them both. "What's that?" Kira asked in alarm. At her voice, the puppy, his fur matted with twigs, emerged from the place where he had been hiding. "It's Frolic." Kira took him into her arms, and he licked her hand. Beside her, tenderly, Leader picked up what remained of the boy and prepared to carry him home. In the distance, the sound of keening began. We did it. The end. So, we find that Maddie used his power, all of his power, which caused him to pass away, to heal the world. So he used his gift to fix everything. It's a sweet ending. It does make me sad about Maddie, but the fact that he used all of him to help others is a sweet ending to the story. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read chapter 20 quiz, and then tomorrow I will read chapter 21 quiz, and I'll review chapter 20. That way you don't have to do both of them back to back. And here we go. So chapter 20 quiz, question 1. Maddie tried to lift his head, but his eyes were blank and his nose was blank. So A, his eyes were closed and his nose was broken. B, his eyes were swollen and his nose was bleeding. C, his eyes were crying and his nose was running. Or D, his eyes were red and his nose was purple. Question 2. Maddie experienced great sadness over the coming death of A, Kira, B, Jean, C, Frolic, or D, Leader. So Maddie realized that something young and once healthy was probably going to die. Who is he talking about? Question 3. While Leader was in the beyond, the vines, A, entangled him, B, tickled him, C, hit him, or D, waved at him. Question 4. Leader tells Kira only blank can help him. So who can help him? A, Seer, B, Maddie, C, Frolic, or D, Jean. So who's going to be the one to save everybody? Question 5. Maddie feels great blank when Kira tells him to use his gift. Is he A, angry? B, does he feel hatred? C, does he feel despair? Or D, does he feel rage? Question 6. Maddie rolled into blank and put his arms to the earth. Did he roll into A, a pit, B, a ball, C, under the tree, or D, into the mud? In question 7, as he lay there, his fingers began to A, vibrate, B, mutate, C, swell, or D, grow. Okay, let's see. We're at 20 minutes. 11 questions here. I'll go ahead and do the 21 read aloud. So that means that Friday you're off and all you have to do is check it. If you want to share or save half of this for Friday, go for it. I'm going to go ahead and read it while we're on a roll. So this is now the chapter 21 quiz. 1. The vibrations and power began in Maddie's A, elbows, B, shoulders, C, fingertips, or D, knuckles. So when he starts to heal the earth, where do these vibrations begin? Question 2. As he lay there, he could feel his blank moving all over his body. Is it A, his nerves, B, oxygen, C, anger, or D, blood? Sorry, Katie just walked out here. Question 3. Question 3, he could feel his blank tighten with energy. Does he feel his A, muscles tighten, B, neurons, C, tendons, or D, hairs? Question 4, as Maddie worked, there was a blank that signaled a change. Was there a whisper, A, B, breeze, C, bird, or D, scream? Question 5. Maddie traded blank for everything he loved. What did he trade? A, frolic, B, his love, C, himself, or D, his treasure? Question 6. Forrest is back to normal because Leader sees a what? What does Leader see? A, a deer, B, butterfly, C, monkey, or D, leaf fall? Question 7. Blank is back to his old, stupid, bald self. That's old stooped, not stupid. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Question 7. Who is back to their old, stooped, bald self? Keyword bald, remember? Was it A, mentor, B, leader, C, seer, or D, trademaster? Question 8. Kira washes Maddie's blank after she is healed. A, his hands and feet, B, his face and feet, C, his face and arms, or D, his hair and feet? Question 9. Maddie had hoped to get his blank at the end of the journey. So since the beginning of the book, we know that Maddie's been wanting to get his what? A, his reward, B, his true name, C, his gift, or D, his true job? Question 10. Leader says that Maddie's true name is blank because there had been many other messengers. So remember, Maddie was like, I want to be messenger. I am messenger. That's going to be my name. But Leader gives him this name instead because he's the only one that could save the world the way he did. So is he A, cure, B, hunter, C, healer, or D, love? And finally, the last question of the 2019-2020 school year is this. Question 11. The last sound heard in the book is that of A, singing, B, keening, C, praying, or D, laughing? So it's the very last page of this book. What is the final sound that we hear? And it kind of gives us some closure with Maddie and his gift to the world. Okay, so that's it. That is chapter 19, 20, 21. We've finished them all. We've finished the entire Messenger book. Sorry for those 2 little interruptions in this, but I'm glad we plowed through. It's about 25-minute video. We can manage that because that is Thursday and Friday's activities together. So use Friday as your makeup day. Catch up with what you need. I'm proud of you guys. I love you. This is not the last post you will see. We're still going to keep in touch for the next few days. If you need anything, email me. I love you all. This is a crazy year. I'm glad we did it together. Love you guys.